In today's society, where a clear-cut moral compass seems increasingly elusive, swallowed by a sea of relativism and self-interest, we are reminded of Noah's days. It is as though society has once again become adrift in need of anchoring values to guide us through the moral maelstrom and fallen face, but it worked in different types. The rising tide of global unrest and division reflects the echoes of Noah's time. These parallels call us to seek a greater understanding and to strive for unity in a world where division often seems the norm. As Noah responded to the divine call for righteousness amidst an age of moral depravity, so too does this pivotal call resonate in our own time amid rampant moral. It implores us to rediscover the tenets of virtue and to live in accordance with higher principles, parallel to the divine gaze that perceived the world's corruption in Noah's time. It is as if we can sense a similar scrutiny upon our contemporary turmoil. This presence challenges us to confront and address the issues of our day with courage and wisdom. The tale of Noah stands not just as an ancient narrative, but as a sobering reminder of the fate that befalls a world estranged from its Creator. It is a historical mirror reflecting the potential consequences of our own distance from the divine and a call for reconnection. In our era, much like in Noah, there arises a profound necessity for divine guidance and an earnest return to godly principles. It underscores the enduring relevance of connecting with a spirituality that has the power to elevate humanity beyond the obstacles of temporal existence. In an age where the earth groans under the weight of human sin and environmental calamity, we find ourselves reflecting on the times of Noah. The world then, as now, was soaked in moral decay and strife, mirroring the corrupted era preceding the Great Flood unfold. The current turmoil in the Middle East and the rampant moral shifts in society signal that we are at a crossroads similar to that faced during Noah's day. And these are times that urge us to re-examine our values and choose a path of righteousness, just as Noah did amidst the wickedness of his generation. The pervasive moral decay and strife experienced globally harken back to the beleaguered state of the world before the biblical flood. Society finds itself steeped in a widespread ethical wilderness reflective of the spiritual and moral bankruptcy that compelled divine intervention in Noah's time. This observation poses a transformative question to each of us. How do we navigate through this era of profound moral challenges? The conflicts, both in the Middle East and within the shifting sands of societal norms, place us at an inflection point, similar to Noah's era. This parallel compels us to consider how our individual and collective choices contribute to the global narrative, steering us towards either further discord or a path of harmony and understanding, much like the dichotomous world Noah experienced. Violence and injustice are rampant across the globe, with nations and communities embroiled in unrelenting conflict, echoing the tumultuous and chaotic world of Noah. The ever-present discord shows a tapestry of sorrow that blankets humanity, repeating the patterns of strife that once brought about an epical deluge intended to cleanse the world. Much like the ancient world that groaned under the pain of human transgressions, leading to the flood, our earth today shows the adverse effects of humanity's disregard for nature. The environmental crises we face are a distress call, urging us to act with greater care and responsibility towards the planet that sustains us all. In the current era, a parallel with Noah's generation is unmistakably clear as we observe an overwhelming wave of spiritual apathy and moral ambiguity. It is a time of deep spiritual reckoning, asking each individual to reflect upon their own values and those of the society in which we live, to foster a reawakening with conscience. The earth, once filled with corruption during Noah's time, now reflects a sobering similarity in today's landscape of moral decay and ethical erosion. This resemblance to the past calls upon us to heed the lessons of history and to rectify our ways before we reach a point of irreversible decline. As Noah once observed the global landscape torn apart by conflict and despair, our contemporary world too bears a striking resemblance to that pre-flood deterioration. The unsettling parallels between both eras suggest that without fundamental changes, history's somber chapters may repeat themselves. The environmental disasters that currently plague our world, much like the calamities that once threatened to consume Noah's era, depict a fractured relationship with the fabric of creation. These catastrophes are not only physical, but symbolic of a deeper need for reconciliation between humanity and the earth. In a era filled with moral ambiguity and ethical dilemmas, Noah's clear devotion to God's commandments offers a guiding light for navigating the complex moral landscapes of our time. His life is a beacon for those seeking direction and clarity in a world mired in confusion and moral relativism. As the world crumbled into moral disarray and ethical confusion around him, Noah's steadfastness in faith provided a solid foundation of hope and resilience. His trust in God amid chaos and uncertainty is a powerful lesson in resilience, spiritual strength, and unwavering faith in divine providence. Noah's life stands as a testament to the enduring strength and timeless relevance of godly character in the face of ethical decline and moral erosion. His righteousness shines as a model for all who seek to live a life pleasing to God, a beacon of hope in an era of moral ambiguity. In a generation lost to sin and moral waywardness, Noah's righteousness stands as a powerful example of God's desire for holiness and purity in our lives. It challenges us to live in a way that honors Him, despite the moral failings and ethical compromises of our time. Reflecting on Noah's life inspires us to pursue a path of righteousness, even in an age of moral uncertainty and ethical challenges. His legacy encourages us to seek a deeper relationship with God, to live in accordance with His will, and to be lights in a world that often wanders in darkness. As we navigate through an era of profound moral and ethical upheaval, akin to Noah's time, steadfast righteousness of Noah stands as a beacon of unwavering faith and integrity. In a world where traditional values are rapidly shifting and losing ground, this unwavering commitment to God's ways offers us a shining example of hope and safety, the beacon in the storm of moral relativism. In Noah's era, rampant moral decay was the norm, yet he chose a path of faithfulness and integrity, standing in stark contrast to the collapsing morality of this society. Noah's life is a testament to the power and resilience of living in alignment with divine principles and anchor in the midst of moral disarray and ethical ambiguity. Surrounded by a world succumbing to corruption and moral degradation.
Noah remained a pillar of virtue and obedience.
His life stood in stark contrast to his contemporary, shining as a beacon of righteousness and godly living in a time of widespread moral failure and ethical erosion. In an age where the winds of moral relativism blew strong, threatening to sweep away the foundations of truth and godliness, Noah's life was a steadfast light of unwavering commitment to righteousness, providing a glimmer of hope. As Noah faced the overwhelming tide of wickedness and moral compromise around him, he chose to stand firm in his faith and convictions. His example calls us to uphold righteousness and truth in a world that often rejects and mocks absolute moral standards, urging us to be steadfast in our beliefs. Amidst the societal decay and moral disintegration of his time, Noah's integrity and piety laid the foundation for a godly legacy that has endured through generations. His life serves as a blueprint for living righteously and faithfully in a world that often strays from God's path, a guide in the wilderness of moral confusion. Noah's unwavering commitment to righteousness in the face of widespread depravity and ethical decay is a clarion call to believers today. It is a poignant reminder of the importance of steadfast faith and moral integrity, an inspiration to remain true to our core values and principles. In a society that often challenges and undermines our convictions, Noah's example inspires us to remain true to our beliefs and principles. His life demonstrates the strength and courage that come from standing firm in one's faith, even when it runs counter to cultural norms and popular truths. The power and impact of a solitary righteous life in a corrupt and morally bankrupt world is exemplified in Noah's story. His unwavering faith serves as a reminder of the profound influence one person can have in upholding truth, righteousness, and godly principles in a world that has lost its way. Just as the ark was a safe haven amid the devastation, we must create our modern arks policies and practices that shield us from the worst of the climate crisis and harbor life for future generations. In Noah's day, the sanctuary of the ark was built in foresight of impending calamity. In our times, we must construct societal and technological arks as a bulwark against our own environmental destruction. As Noah heeded the divine warning and prepared, so must we acknowledge the clear signs of a climate in distress, taking decisive action to stem the tide of disaster. God's judgment by water was a turning point in biblical history. Similarly, they stand at a critical juncture where the judgment of our era expresses itself through the fury of nature's response to our excesses. The relentless pounding rains of Noah's flood find their counterpart in the extreme precipitation events of our era, inundating cities and crops alike, a force of nature that begs human introspection and change. And the upheaval of the Great Flood spurred a new beginning for humanity. And the environmental upheaval of our times calls for a similar rebirth, a transformed relationship with the environment. Once, God initiated a cleansing of the earth to address moral decay. Now we increasingly recognize the need to cleanse our habits and industries to mitigate the decay of our planet. Just as the floodwaters receded to reveal a fresh promise for mankind, the receding glaciers of today reveal a stark warning. Our covenant with the earth hangs in the balance. Noah's epic was defined by a divine reset, ushering in a covenant between God and humanity. Today's climate crisis beckons a new covenant, one that honors and heals the earth we have sorely wounded. In times past, the ark stood resilient against the rising floods, As protectors of our own domain, we are called to build robust defenses against the surging tides of climate-driven change, an arc of foresight and innovation. Just as God beheld the world steeped in wickedness and chose to purge in overwhelming waters, we witness today our planet in turmoil, reeling from the devastating impacts of climate change and echo biblical proportions. As history teaches us through Noah's tale, salvation came to those who heeded the call to action. As custodians of earth, we are now the summoned call to act in the face of a self-inflicted judgment by the elements. The raising of seas and the wailing of winds in contemporary times are akin to the torrents that enveloped Noah's age, a somber reminder that our actions are not without consequence, and the earth responds in kind. Floods of today wash over our lands with increasing fury, akin to the divine deluge sent to cleanse an errant civilization, a parallel that implores us to consider the price of our own indulgences. Heat waves scorch our cities as if to mimic the scalding judgment once delivered to a wayward humanity, urging the collective repentance from the environmental sins we commit against our shared home. The tempests and tides in modern times surge with similar urgency to that of Noah's flood, signaling an urgent call to stewardship as stewards of a fragile creation besieged by rising temperatures and oceans. Noah's preparation, a testament to collective faith, is a model of stewardship for our world leaders and communities as they craft policies and strategies to shield humanity from the gathering storms of global upheaval. Just as Noah's actions repudiated the cynicism of this age, so are we impelled to transcend the doubts of our time, nurturing a culture of engagement and proactive intervention in the face of existential threats. Noah, in his allegiance to a vision, unseen by others, forged a pathway through impending chaos. In contemporary society, our response to international crises must insist on hope and unwavering effort aligned with the eternal. Facing God's command, Noah chose constructive action over complacency. This choice informs our actions as a global community, confronting present adversities, steering our ship through uncharted waters with a clear moral rudder. The narrative of Noah's divine assignment through his acceptance thereof beckons a reflection on the individual and collective responses required from us amidst the pressing calamities of our times, a reminder to build arks of refuge and remedy. The echo of God's voice directing Noah reverberates through the centuries, reaching us today as a clarion call for concerted action against the multidimensional issues that beset our planet, demanding a diligent and unified response. In a world awash with skepticism, Noah found certainty and direction in the divine commandment to build an ark. It stands symbolic of obedience amidst disbelief, inspiring our own response to the multifaceted challenges pressing upon the globe today. Health crises, societal upheavals, and universal quests for meaning. The courage to embrace God's directives in the face of communal doubt marked Noah's journey. This ancient mandate echoes in our collective consciousness as we navigate through the trials of a modern world, seeking solace in solutions in an often uncertain moral landscape. Noah's daunting task to construct a refuge for life revives within us the call to confront pandemics and social discord with a steadfast spirit, mirroring his resolve to act upon heavenly guidance. Despite the tempest, the unwavering fortitude with which Noah embarked on his divinely ordained mission speaks to our own era's need for resilience as we address the defining global issues of our own era with faith as our compass and action as our vessel. As Noah faced ridicule and isolation in his faithfulness, we too are challenged to adhere to ethical principles and divine imperatives amidst the cacophony of contemporary crises that threaten to disrupt our societal fabric. It is Saturn Day, Noah's solitary commitment in a disbelieving world bears testament to the power of divine. Similarly, our concerted efforts to resolve the world's afflictions honor this sacred template, even as they test our collective resolve. Through the act of building the ark, Noah affirmed his trust in the Creator's world. And we're invited to embrace the same trust as we combat global adversities, disease, inequality, and strife that besiege humanity on a scale not seen since ancient times. Emulating Noah, who hearkened to the voice above the din of his contemporary skepticism. Our unity and concerted response to global calamities can forge a vessel of hope and deliverance in a sea of turmoil. The allegory of Noah preparing for the divine deluge stands in parallel to our generational call to prepare for and mitigate the complex emergencies that characterize our age, fostering an arc of solidarity and common purpose. Noah's construction of the ark, an upward, painstaking process, serves as a metaphor for the way our spiritual disciplines must elevate us, lifting our perspectives beyond worldly circumstances toward a celestial horizon. Our faith practices must give us ascendance, drawing us nearer to the sublime and aligning our souls with the eternal. The toil behind the ark's creation, devoid of hurry or vanity, underscores the thoughtful endeavor required to nurture a life suffused with divine grace. Similarly, we are called to labor with commitment and humility, sculpting our lives in accordance with the examples set by Christ, the ultimate carpenter, who shapes our destinies with his sacrificial love. And Noah's contemporaries responded with ridicule rather than reverence. Yet Noah's faith was not shaken, but translated into concerted action and a steadfast trust in God's. Thus, we are summoned by his legacy to embody a vibrant faith that translates our beliefs into the realities of service, charity, and passionate pursuit of God's kingdom here on earth. The act of building the ark in an environment steeped in doubt speaks volumes about the inner strength required to construct a solid spiritual foundation today. In a world showing apathy towards spiritual pursuits, we are charged with the mandate to cultivate a sanctified and resolute spirit, becoming beacons of hope and bastion of truth. Alone with the sound of his hammering, Noah displayed an unwavering belief in the salvation promised by God, though it was yet unseen. Our spiritual disciplines, prayer, fellowshipping, and meditating on the Word, are akin to the strikes of Noah's hammer, each act of devotion solidifying the bridge over the chasm between the temporal and the promise of everlasting life in God. The assembly of the ark, a physical manifestation of Noah's swiftness to obey in reverence for the divine, stands as encouragement for us to emulate such qualities in our own lives amid the adversities and sorrows we might face. We too are implored to persevere with alacrity and honor, for through Christ, victory over spiritual adversities is assured. In moments when the very tenets of our faith appear threatened by the surging waves of secularism, the story of the ark reminds us of the hope that persists when we commit to God's Word. Just as the ark prevailed, so too does our interminable belief allow us to navigate life's most trying tempest with courage and faith. As Noah joined each timber and fastened every dowel, he interlaced the physical components into a singular, unwavering structure. In parallel, our daily spiritual practices interconnect us with the larger body of Christ, ensuring we are well equipped to encounter the physical and metaphysical floods we may encounter on our journey of faith. With methodical precision, Noah prepared for the deluge, aware of its certainty. This preparedness serves to remind us of the importance of being spiritually vigilant, prepared for the torrent of questions and yearnings for truth, a deluge of a different sort that defines our current era. Noah's Ark, built with exacting scrupulousness and care, symbolizes our own spiritual crests, grand visions of devotion to God that materialize through consistent, faithful steps. Each deed in obedience, each prayer uttered, each moment of worship contributes to a towering edifice of belief, capable of withstanding life vicissitudes. Noah's undertaking to build the ark, a colossal feat demanded by God, entailed unwavering diligence and an unassailable faith reminiscent of the spiritual journey we are beckoned to embark upon today. As Noah laid each wooden beam, binding it with pitch against the impending flood, we are invited to lay the foundations of our faith in the fertile soil of Christ's teachings, steadfast despite an age marked by indifference. The ark wants a testimony of hope and divine providence, and Noah's time today inspires a living tradition of sustained spiritual devotion in us. As members of his global ecclesia, our spiritual disciplines shine forth as evidence of our unshakable trust in Christ, a guiding signal for world-awaiting hope's manifestation. The ark was constructed to divinely stipulated measurements, a blueprint Noah adhered to with exact precision, just as the Scriptures provide us with well-defined blueprints for spiritual formation. We, as disciples of Christ, are called to embrace the sacred structures of our belief, the spiritual disciplines that scaffold our journey toward holiness and communion with the Almighty. In a world teeming with voices of skepticism and realms of doubt, the sustained and patient efforts that Noah devoted to the building of the ark serve to remind us of the perseverance required to cultivate and sustain a vibrant and enduring faith. Amidst the discordant skepticism of our time, our spiritual edifice too must be constructed with patient craftsmanship as we carve out a sanctuary of peace and godliness within our hearts. As Noah selected and laid each plank and fitted every beam as action served as a tangible manifestation of his inner conviction, similarly, our daily decisions and actions must be deliberate, faithfully controlled. Every choice adds to the robustness of a life governed by divine precepts and guided by the Holy Spirit. The ark stood as a towering structure of refuge, a vessel of deliverance from the onslaught of a worldwide catastrophe. In a like manner, the streams of our spiritual lives, when diligently fortified through prayer, worship, and the Word, can withstand the societal currents of disbelief and the tempestuous tide of secular norms. The enduring toils of Noah to construct an ark for the salvation of a chosen few imprints on our hearts as we witness the rise of Israel amidst the global limelight and myriad challenges. A modern testament to eternal verities and a collective summons to waver as the ark offered a remnant as a seed for the morrow. Today's Israel cradles the living roots of our faith, beautifully entwining the skeins of God's grand narrative anew, with each unfolding generation extending an invitation to each soul to partake in his grand tapestry of grace. About the way, it is positioned because of the muster matchless setting. It is a strong acceptance that the magicisms concentrate because learn then from this that the Almighty's providential reach expands from the palpable present into the boundless stretches of eternity. As a trip in time to be at mode, who wants all of them to just us to them, make them man that they might be in me. This is God, the virtue of patience, whose grace Noah's soul as it stood expectant for the water's withdrawal. Such patience must delight within us as we consider the ongoing unfolding of Israel against the breathtaking canvas of biblical prophecy. The man,
Beloved of the Lord, as Noah's ark stood testament to deliverance in its day, so too does the rebirth of Israel in our age glow as a beacon of eschatological hope, kindling the very depths
beneath the lingering shadows of the ark's enduring memory. We stand enraptured by the regenerative odyssey of Israel, a chronicle etched by the fingertips of heaven itself. The ark, as it triumphantly surmounted the unforgetting billows, remains a timeless emblem of humanity's deliverance, parallel to the nation of Israel, and which now shines as a modern emblem of as the ark bore across untamed waves the seeds of a reinvigorated creation. Israel today tenderly nurtures the seeds of unending peace, a peace destined to reach full bloom with the Messiah's anticipated return, under whose reign tranquility in the preservation of life's sacred essences within the ark's pasture. So too do we discern the prophetic telos epitomized by Israel, a stage central upon which the grandest of all divine mysteries converges. Brethren, let us gather in contemplation of the profound parallel between Noah's divine commission to craft an ark and God's meticulous orchestration of Israel's prophetic resurgence. Just as the ark became a bastion safeguarding life's precious essence from the deluge, Israel in her modern rebirth has ascended as a beacon of divine promise, unequivocally affirming the Almighty's unwavering fidelity to his ancient. Concluding this heartfelt reflection, the expedition at Noah's Ark and the miraculous resurgence of Israel call us to moor our hearts steadfastly within the assurance of divine intervention. Encased within the steadfast walls of gopher wood, the ark emerged as salvation's vessel amidst the waters of divine judgment. This echoes profoundly in our times as we behold the statehood of Israel, which has blossomed as a sanctuary, symbolizing endurance and renewal, a testament that affirms the timelessness of God's covenants through the ages. Consider, dearly beloved, how the ark, transcending its utilitarian purpose, stood as a resolute testament to God's unyielding provision and safeguarding amidst the tumult of a world upturned. Likewise, the establishment of modern-day Israel stands as an equally powerful testament and beacon, steadfast through the tempestuous chapters of human history, guided evermore by the hand of the eternal Creator. In the reflect, O faithful assembly, on the ark's role as an ark of divine promise, a cradle of continuity for all creation. Thus stands Israel, nestled within the refuge of the ark, to discern the emergence of merciful restoration in the midst of detritus of divine rectitude. The rebirth of Israel in these latter days splendidly continues to etch that narrative of mercy into the annals of time, etching a destiny woven into the epical fabric by the hands of prophetic heralds. In every challenge we face today, let us remember the covenant with Noah. Let us hold fast to the knowledge that the same God who calmed the waters and set the rainbow in the sky is with us now. His promises are not just historical accounts, they are living assurances that provide us with strength and hope. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, let us find solace in the knowledge that God's faithfulness is constant, His love unchanging, and His presence an ever-present help in times of need. He is our rock and our Redeemer, our shelter in the storm. In Him we find the assurance of salvation and the promise of eternal life. His covenant with Noah is a testament to His unshakable commitment to His creation, a commitment that extends to each of us. In God, we find a foundation that cannot be shaken, a love that cannot be overcome, and a promise of eternal life that stands firm against the shifting sands of time. Therefore, let us take heart and be encouraged. The Lord's faithfulness is everlasting. His mercies are new every morning, and his love endures forever. His promises are like the sunrise, constant and beautiful, bringing light to our darkness and hope to our despair. In every moment of doubt or fear, let us look to the covenant with Noah as a reminder of God's eternal faithfulness and unwavering commitment to us, his beloved children. Just as he was with Noah, so he is with us, a faithful, promise-keeping God, now and always. His covenant is a banner over our lives, a symbol of his unending love and faithfulness. As we walk through our own personal floods and navigate the challenges of our times, let us cling to this truth. God is with us. His covenant is everlasting, and his promises are sure. In every season of life, in every trial, and in every joy, we can trust in the constancy of God's loving presence and his unwavering faithfulness. The covenant God made with Noah after the flood symbolizes his unwavering faithfulness and commitment to humanity. Paralleled in the promises he extends to us in these challenging modern times. And this covenant, established in a world recovering from divine judgment, was a profound demonstration of God's grace and mercy. It was a promise not only to Noah, but to all future generations, a commitment that humanity would never again be destroyed through floodwaters. This fact of God symbolized his loving kindness and his willingness to renew his relationship with mankind, despite their previous failings. The story unfolds in the aftermath of the flood, a time when the world lay in quiet repose, cleansed by the waters of judgment. It was then that the Lord, in his infinite mercy and wisdom, established this covenant with Noah. This moment marked a turning point in human history, a pivotal instance where God's mercy shone brightly against the backdrop of his righteous judgment. The covenant was a beacon of hope, a divine declaration that despite the depths of human sin, God's grace would prevail, ensuring the continuity and preservation of life on earth. This is not merely an agreement between the Creator and one man. It was a testament to God's unwavering faithfulness to all humanity. This covenant, marked by the sign of the rainbow in the heavens, was a divine pledge, an assurance that never again would the waters become a flood to destroy all flesh. The covenant transcended time and generations, establishing a perpetual reminder of God's restraint and his loving commitment to the preservation of his creation. It was a sign of a new beginning, a symbol of divine hope and reassurance to all who would witness it across the ages. This bow in the clouds stood as a witness to God's mercy and his promise of preservation. It was a visible reminder of the Lord's grace, a beacon of hope in a world that had witnessed great destruction. The rainbow, with its vibrant colors spanning the sky, was a reflection of God's artistry and a visual testament to his promise. Each time it appears, it serves as a reminder of the covenant, a sign that God remembers his promise and remains faithful to his word. This bow of colors is a symbol of peace and a reminder that even in times of storm, God's love and promises hold true. Now let us draw parallels to our own lives. In these times they often seem as tumultuous as the days of Noah. In the same way that God was faithful to Noah, he remains faithful to us. His promises are eternal, transcending the changing circumstances of our lives. In our moments of doubt and uncertainty, just as the days of Noah, God offers us a covenant of hope and reassurance. His faithfulness is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing reality in our lives today, offering stability and hope amidst our ever-changing world. The Lord's promises are not confined to the pages of ancient scripture. They are alive and active, extending to each one of us today. The covenant with Noah is a reflection of God's unchanging nature, his steadfast love, and his commitment to his creation. This enduring commitment is evident in the continuous unfolding of God's plan for humanity. His promises, like the covenant with Noah, remain relevant and powerful, offering guidance, comfort, and assurance in every era and every challenge we face. In our own trials and tribulations, in the midst of our own personal floods and storms, this covenant stands as a testament to God's unwavering faithfulness. It serves as a reminder that no matter the severity of our struggles, God's promises remain steadfast. His covenant with Noah is a metaphor for the enduring nature of his love and commitment to us. It reassures us that even when we face the overwhelming waters of life, God is with us, offering salvation and a promise of renewal and restoration. Just as the rainbow after the flood was a sign of hope and renewal, so too are the promises of God in our lives, signs of his continual presence and unending faithfulness. These promises are beacons of light in our darkest moments, guiding us through the storms of life. They remind us that after every trial and tribulation, there is hope for a new beginning. And God's properties are rainbow, vibrant, beautiful, and a symbol of peace and restoration after the storms we endure. He promises to be with us always, to guide and protect us, to give us strength in our weaknesses, and to be our refuge in times of trouble. These promises are not empty words, but are backed by the fullness of his character and his unyielding love for us. God's commitment to us is as strong and enduring as the covenant he made with Noah. He is our steadfast protector, our guiding light in darkness, and our source of strength in every challenge we face. His presence in our lives is a continuous source of comfort and assurance, a reminder that we are never alone. Let us remember that obedience is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Noah's obedience saved his family and preserved the earth's animal life. Our obedience can have similar, far-reaching consequences. Let us take heart from the story of Noah and his obedience. Let us remember that we too are called to action to make a difference in the world around us and to trust in God's plan for our lives. Noah's obedience was not without its trials and tribulations. He faced ridicule and disbelief from those around him. Yet he remained steadfast and his commitment to follow God's commands. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, we too are called to obedience. We may face challenges that seem insurmountable, but with faith and trust in God, we can overcome them. And let us be inspired by Noah's example of faith and obedience. Let us remember that our actions, no matter how small they may seem, can make a difference in the world around us. Let us take heart in the story of Noah and his obedience. Let us remember that we too are called to action, to make a difference in the world around us, and to trust in God's plan for our lives. Let us remember that the spread of the gospel is not just about converting individuals. It is also about transforming communities and even entire nations. May God grant us the wisdom to discern His will for the spread of the gospel and the courage to follow it even when the path seems uncertain or difficult. Let us take part in the story of Noah and the gathering of the animals. Let us remember that we too are called to make a difference in the world around us and to trust in God's plan for our lives. As Noah gathered animals of every kind into the ark, so too is the gospel being spread to every corner of the earth, fulfilling Christ's command to make disciples of all nations. Noah's task was not an easy one. He had to identify and round up every kind of animal, ensuring that each species was represented in the ark. And yet, he persevered, trusting in God's plan for his family and for the earth. The spread of the gospel is a monumental task, requiring dedication, perseverance, and faith. But just as Noah trusted in God to provide him for him during the flood, we too can trust in God's plan for the spread of the gospel. Noah's actions had far-reaching consequences. They preserved the earth's animal life and allowed for the continuation of humanity. And so too will our actions have consequences, both near and far. Let us be inspired by Noah's example of faith and obedience. And let us remember that we too are called to spread the gospel.
To share the love of Christ with those around us and with those in distant lands.
May God grant us the grace to follow His call to action, just as Noah followed His call to gather the animals. And may we always remember that our actions have consequences both for ourselves and for the world around us. Let us take heart from the story of Noah and the gathering of the animals. Let us remember that we too are called to make a difference in the world around us and to trust in God's plan for our lives. And Noah's actions were not just about preserving animal lives. They were also about preserving the human family. And so too is the spread of the gospel about saving souls and bringing people into the fold of God's love. May our faith be as steadfast as Noah's, resting in God's promises even when the waters seem to be rising higher and higher. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, the very present help in trouble. That, just as Noah and his family found physical salvation within the walls of the ark, we too can find spiritual refuge in God during times of crisis and turmoil. In our modern world, we face countless trials and challenges
that can feel like a flood threatening to engulf us.
But just as Noah and his family found refuge in the ark, we too can find solace in God's loving embrace. Noah's faith remained steadfast in the face of the flood, trusting that God would keep his promise to protect him and his family. We too must trust in God's plan for our lives, even when the waters seem to be rising higher and higher. The ark was a reminder of God's covenant with Noah and his family. And just as God kept his promises to them, he will keep his promises to us. We can find refuge in his love and grace, no matter what trials or tribulations come our way. In the midst of the flood, Noah built an altar to the Lord and offered sacrifices of thanksgiving and praise. Let us follow his example and offer sacrifices of faith and obedience to God, trusting in his goodness and mercy. May God grant us the grace to trust in his plan for our lives, even during times of crisis and uncertainty. May we always remember that he was our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Let us take heart from the story of Noah and the flood. Let us remember that no matter what trials or tribulations come our way, we have a loving God who will provide for us and guide us through. And when we trust in his plan, we will emerge stronger and more steadfast in our faith. As the waters of the great flood began to rise, swallowing the earth whole, so too do we witness the rising tides of trials and challenges in our modern world. These crises test our faith and our resolve, calling upon us to remain steadfast and resilient. We live in a world that is increasingly complex and uncertain, filled with challenges that can feel overwhelming. But just as Noah and his family trusted in God's plan during the flood, we too must trust in his plan for our lives. The flood was a test of faith, but it was also an opportunity for growth and transformation. And so it is with us today. The trials and challenges we face are opportunities to deepen our relationship with God and to grow in our faith. Noah's faith remained steadfast in the face of the flood, trusting that God would keep his promise to protect him and his family. We too must trust in God's promises. Even when the waters seem to be rising higher and higher. In the midst of the flood, Noah built an altar to the Lord and offered sacrifices of thanksgiving and praise. Let us follow his example and offer our own sacrifices of faith and obedience to God, trusting in his goodness and mercy. May God grant us the grace to face the challenges of our modern world with courage and resilience. May we always remember that he is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Let us remember that no matter what challenges we face, we can trust in God's perfect plan and his ultimate control over all things. And may we always look to him for guidance and strength. As Noah and his family endured the 40 days and nights aboard the ark, we are reminded of the perseverance required in our faith journey, especially during prolonged trials and tribulations. In our own lives, we too face trials that can feel like an endless slog. We may be tempted to give up or lose faith. But just as Noah and his family did, we must remember that God is with us every step of the way. The ark was a symbol of God's protection and provision during the flood. And in our own lives, we have the assurance of His presence and promises to sustain us through even the most difficult times. Let us take heart from the story of Noah and the flood. Let us remember that no matter what trials or tribulations come our way, we can endure with faith the resilience, trusting in God's perfect plan for our lives, and flood those who not just to faith of faith. And know our resonations in Noah as a test of faith for Noah and his family. It was also an opportunity for them to deepen their relationship with God and to trust Him even more fully. As we face our own trials and tribulations, let us remember that they too can be opportunities for growth and deeper faith. Let us trust in God's plan for our lives and lean on Him for strength and guidance. The flood was a reminder of the power and sovereignty of God. And just as He controlled the floodwaters, He also controls every aspect of our lives. Let us remember that no matter what challenges we face, we can trust in God's perfect plan and His unwavering love for us. May we always look to Him for guidance and strength. In the aftermath of the flood, as God remembered Noah, we too are reassured of God's unwavering attention and care for us, especially in moments of despair and uncertainty. The flood was a time of great turmoil and chaos, but God remained faithful to Noah and his family. And in our own lives, we can trust that God will be faithful to us as well. Let us take heart from the story of Noah and God's remembrance of him. Let us remember that no matter what challenges we face, we can trust in God's perfect plan for our lives and His unwavering care for us. May God grant us the peace that comes from knowing He is always with us, even in the midst of chaos and uncertainty. And may we always remember to turn to Him in times of need and in times of joy. The story of Noah reminds us that even when we feel like we are the only ones going through a trial, God sees us and remembers us. He is our constant companion and our greatest source of comfort and strength. In the flood was a reminder of the power and love of God. And just as He remembered Noah and his family, He also remembers us and loves us unconditionally. In my shells, I'm your grain, and I will produce all of the most in the Spirit. And may we always look forward to the hope and possibilities that await us. May God grant us the grace to trust in His perfect plan for our lives and to embrace the new beginnings that come after even the most challenging times. And may we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As the floodwaters eventually recede, revealing new beginnings, we find hope in the gradual resolution of our own challenges, trusting in God's perfect timing and plan for restoration. God's timing is perfect, and He always has a plan for our lives. Even in the midst of our trials and tribulations, we can trust that He is working things out for our good. The ark was a symbol of God's protection and provision during the flood. And just as the waters receded, revealing new opportunities and possibilities, so too can our own challenges give way to new beginnings. Let us take heart from the story of Noah in the receding flood waters. Let us remember that no matter what challenges we face, we can trust in God's perfect timing and plans of restoration. And may we always look forward to the new opportunities and possibilities that await us. May God grant us the grace to trust in His perfect timing and plan for our lives, even when the waters of life seem to be rising higher and higher. And may we always remember to look to the new beginnings that come after even the most challenging times. And the flood was not just a test of faith for Noah and his family. It was also an opportunity for them to start anew and to build a better future. As we face our own challenges, let us remember that they too can be opportunities for growth and new beginnings. Let us trust in God's perfect plan for our lives and lean on Him for guidance and strength as we navigate the waters of life. As we look to the future, let us be inspired by Noah's example of faith and trust in God. Let us send out our own birds in prayer, knowing that He will lead us to new beginnings and opportunities. May God bless us with the wisdom to seek His guidance and direction in all things. And may we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As Noah sent out birds to seek signs of dry land, we too send our prayers and hopes, seeking God's guidance and direction, and navigating the complex landscapes of our time. Noah's actions remind us that even in uncertain times, we can trust in God's faithfulness and provision. And just as He looked to the birds for a sign of hope, we too can look to Him for guidance and wisdom. In our own lives, we may face challenges and uncertainties that seem insurmountable. But just as Noah trusted in God's plan, we too can trust that He has a purpose for us and will guide us through even the most difficult time. Let us remember that God is always with us, even when we cannot see Him. And just as He guided Noah through the flood waters, He will guide us through our own trials and tribulations. May God grant us the wisdom to trust in His plan for our lives and to seek His guidance and direction in all things. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, let us be reminded of Noah's faith and trust in God. Let us send out our own birds in prayer and seek His guidance and direction, knowing that He will always be with us. As we go about our daily lives, let us be reminded of Noah's example of faith and obedience. Thank you. Let us step forward in faith, knowing that God will guide us through even the most uncertain times. May God bless us with the courage to embrace the new beginnings and opportunities He presents us, and may we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As Noah stepped out of the ark onto renewed earth, we are inspired to embrace the new beginnings and opportunities God presents us, stepping forward in faith and hope. Noah's emergence from the ark serves as a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and destruction, God is always present and at work. And just as He guided Noah through the flood waters, He will guide us through our own challenges and triumphs. In our own lives, we may feel stuck or uncertain about the future. But just as Noah trusted in God's guidance and provision, we too can trust that He has a plan for us and will lead us forward. And let us remember that no matter what challenges we face, we are not alone. And just as Noah stepped out of the ark into a new era of faith, we too can step forward in faith, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. May God grant us the courage to embrace the new beginnings and opportunities He presents us. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As we look to the future, let us be inspired by Noah's example of trust and obedience. Let us step forward in faith, knowing that God has a plan for us and will guide us through even the most uncertain times. As we look to the future, let us be inspired by Noah's example of gratitude and thankfulness. Let us offer ourselves in worship and service to God, knowing that He will always be with us and provide for our needs. May God bless us with the wisdom to give thanks for His enduring mercy and grace, and may we always remember to offer ourselves in worship and service to Him. In gratitude, Noah built an altar to God, offering sacrifices. Similarly, we are called to offer our lives in worship and service, expressing our thankfulness for His enduring mercy and grace. Noah's sacrifice reminds us of the importance of giving back to God and acknowledging His role in our lives. And just as He offered His sacrifices in thanksgiving, we too can offer ourselves in worship and service to Him. In our own lives, we may feel overwhelmed by the challenges and complexities of the world around us. But just as Noah turned to God in gratitude and thanksgiving, we too can turn to Him for strength and guidance. Let us remember that no matter what trials or tribulations we face, we are not alone. And just as Noah trusted in God's provision and protection, we too can trust that He will be with us every step of the way. May God grant us the wisdom to offer our lives in worship and service to Him. May we always remember to give thanks for His enduring mercy and grace, and may we trust in His perfect plan for our lives. As we go about our daily lives, let us be reminded of Noah's sacrifice and the importance of giving back to God. Let us offer ourselves in worship and service, knowing that He will always be with us and provide for our needs. As we look to the future, let us be inspired by Noah's example of faith and trust in God's promises. Let us hold fast to the assurances we find in His Word. knowing that He will always be with us and provide for our needs. May God bless us with the wisdom to trust in His promises and find comfort and assurance in His Word. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. And God's promise to never again flood the earth serves as a testament to His steadfast love and mercy, reminding us to hold fast to the assurances we find in His Word. Noah's experience of God's covenant reminds us that even in the midst of chaos and destruction, God is always faithful and true to His promises. And just as He made a promise to Noah, He makes promises to us every day. In our own lives, we may face challenges and uncertainties that seem insurmountable. But just as Noah trusted in God's promise of a new beginning, we too can trust in His promises and find comfort and assurance in His Word. Let us remember that no matter what trials or tribulations we face, we are not alone. And just as God was with Noah during the flood, He is with us every step of the way. May God grant us the wisdom to trust in His promises and find comfort and assurance in His Word. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, let us be reminded of God's promise to Noah and the enduring hope we have in His unchanging nature and promises. As we go about our daily lives, let us be reminded of the rainbow's reminder of God's eternal faithfulness. Let us trust in His promises and find comfort and hope in His unchanging nature and love. And here's which, that God bless us with the wisdom to trust in His promises and find comfort and hope in His faithfulness. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. The rainbow, a symbol of God's covenant with Noah, reminds us of His eternal faithfulness and the enduring hope we have in His unchanging nature and promises. Noah's experience of the rainbow serves as a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and destruction, God is always present and faithful. And just as He made a promise to Noah through the rainbow, He makes promises to us every day. In our own lives, we may face challenges and uncertainties that seem insurmountable. But just as Noah trusted in God's promise signified by the rainbow, we too can trust in His promises and find comfort and hope in His faithfulness. Let us remember that no matter what trials or tribulation we face, we are not alone. And just as God was with Noah during the flood, He's with us every step of the way. May God grant us the wisdom to trust in His promises and find comfort and hope in His faithfulness. May we always remember that He is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. As we look to the future, let us be inspired by the rainbow's reminder of God's eternal faithfulness. Let us trust in His promises and find comfort and hope in His unchanging nature and love. So let us take heart from the story of Noah and the flood. Let us remember that no matter what trials or tribulations come our way, we can endure with faith and resilience. And when the waters recede, we will emerge stronger and more steadfast in our faith. But we must also remember that not everyone is saved from the flood. The wicked and the unrighteous are left behind to perish. Let us learn from their mistake and strive to live righteous lives, following God's commandments and living according to His will. The flood was a reminder of the importance of obedience. Noah and his family obeyed God's commands, and they were saved. But those who disobeyed were left behind to face the consequences. And so we must ask ourselves, are we obeying God's commands? Or are we giving in to the temptations of this world and allowing ourselves to be swept away by the storms of life? Let us remember that obedience is not just about following rules. It's about living a life that honors God and reflects His love and grace. So let us strive to live obedient lives, my friends, to trust in God's plan for our lives. Let us remember the story of Noah and the flood, and let us be inspired by their example of endurance and resilience. And when we face trials and tribulations, let us remember that we are not alone. We have each other and we have God. Together, we can weather any storm and emerge stronger and more steadfast in our faith. As Noah and his family huddled together aboard the ark, they faced a trial unlike any other. 40 days and 40 nights of relentless rain and flooding tested their faith and their resolve. But even in the midst of this great calamity, they remained steadfast, trusting in God's plan